It began with a knock on the door. Sara was home alone that night, curled up on the couch with a blanket and a horror movie playing on the TV. Rain pelted against the windows and the wind howled through the quiet neighborhood. The knock was soft but distinct, cutting through the storm and sending a shiver down her spine. She hesitated, clutching the blanket tighter. "It's late," she thought. "Who could it be?" The knocking came again, firmer this time. Gathering her courage, Sara tiptoed to the door and peered through the peephole. No one was there. Her pulse quickened. She stood frozen, her breath shallow. Then, as she turned to walk away, she noticed it. A small, neatly wrapped box sitting on the doorstep. The wrapping paper was a deep crimson, tied with a black ribbon, glistening in the rain. Curiosity battled with caution. She opened the door just enough to reach out and grab the package before quickly shutting it again. Her hands trembled as she brought it to the kitchen counter, the horror movie forgotten. There was no note, no name, no sign of who had left it. Inside the box was a necklace. It was unlike anything Sara had ever seen, an intricate piece of craftsmanship with a silver chain and a pendant that seemed to glow faintly, as if lit from within. The design was mesmerizing, a swirling pattern of black and white stones that seemed to shift when she moved it. She felt a strange pull toward it, an almost magnetic urge to put it on. Against her better judgment, she slipped the necklace over her head. The pendant rested against her chest, its faint glow pulsing like a heartbeat. At first nothing happened. She laughed at her paranoia, calling herself foolish for being so scared. But then a faint whisper reached her ears. "Sara." She froze, her eyes darting around the room. "Hello?" she called out, her voice shaky. The whisper came again, clearer this time. "Sara, thank you for letting me in."
The lights flickered. Her reflection in the kitchen window began to warp, her image distorting into something unnatural. Her heart pounded as she yanked the necklace off and threw it onto the counter. But the whispers didn't stop. They grew louder, more insistent. She backed away, clutching her head as they filled the room. Shadows began to crawl along the walls, converging in the corner of the kitchen. Slowly, they formed the shape of a person, a tall, gaunt figure with hollow eyes that burned like embers. "You've accepted the gift," the figure said, its voice a raspy growl. "And now you belong to me." Sara screamed, stumbling back as the figure advanced. She grabbed the necklace and hurled it at the shadow, but it passed through harmlessly, clattering to the floor. "You can't undo it," the shadow hissed. "The moment you touch the gift, the deal was sealed. Your soul is mine." Desperation overtook her. She ran to the front door, but no matter how hard she pulled, it wouldn't budge. The windows were sealed shut, the rain outside pounding harder as if mocking her. Her phone lay forgotten on the coffee table, its screen black. The shadow followed her, its voice slithering into her mind. "Do you know how many have worn that necklace? How many lives I've taken? Each one thought they could escape. They were wrong." Memories not her own began to flood her mind. Terrified faces, desperate pleas, lifeless bodies. She saw flashes of people in different times, in different places, all clutching the same necklace, all meeting the same end. "Why me?" she sobbed, collapsing against the wall. "Because you were kind enough to take what was offered," the shadow replied, grinning.
Summoning every ounce of courage, Sara bolted to the kitchen, searching for something, anything to fight back. Her hands closed around a large kitchen knife. She turned to face the shadow, her chest heaving. "I don't belong to you," she spat, raising the blade. The shadow laughed a deep, guttural sound that sent chills down her spine. "You think you can fight me? Foolish girl." With a roar of defiance, Sara lunged at the shadow, plunging the knife into its center. The blade met resistance, but instead of blood, a burst of cold air erupted, throwing her backward. The shadow shrieked, its form flickering, but it didn't disappear. "You'll suffer for that," it hissed, its voice now a cacophony of rage. Just as the shadow loomed over her, the necklace on the floor began to glow brighter. Desperation turned to resolve as Sara crawled toward it, ignoring the whispers that clawed at her mind. She grasped the pendant, its glow burning her palm, and screamed as she flung it into the fireplace. The shadow howled as flames consumed the necklace. The room filled with a blinding light, and the whispers stopped. When the light faded, the shadow was gone. The rain outside ceased, leaving an eerie silence. Sara sat trembling on the floor, her body shaking as the weight of what had happened sank in. She glanced at the fireplace where the necklace had been reduced to ash. Days passed, but the memory of that night haunted her. The whispers never returned, and the shadow was gone, but Sara would never forget the terror she had endured. She told no one of what had happened, fearing they wouldn't believe her, or worse, that they would suffer the same fate. From that day forward, Sara vowed never to take a gift from anyone, no matter how harmless it seemed. And when someone left a package on her doorstep weeks later, she didn't open it. She buried it deep in the ground, hoping it would stay there forever. But in the darkness, where the necklace's ashes had been scattered, faint whispers began to stir again, and they called for the next kind soul to accept the gift.